Hello, we're going to start with fermented foods. Some fermented foods are cheese, yogurt, beer, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, and many others. Fermented foods are defined as foods, beverages produced through controlled microbial growth and the conversion of food components through enzymatic action. Fermented foods need to be stored in a specific temperature. Fermented foods are beneficial to the gut in many unique ways. Not only does fermentation increase the shelf life of foods, but the lactic acid provided an environment conducive to the growth of beneficial bacteria that can help with the overall gut health. That was from our e-text. Basically, some fermented foods like kimchi, beer, and cheese can last longer than some, usually yogurt. The science behind cooking. We learned that cooking is a scientific action of changing the state of food from a liquid to a solid. For example, when we are baking a cookie, we can change the composition of texture of the cookie by the amount of time the cookie is in the oven and the temperature of the heat. If a cookie is exposed to high heat, then the caramelization process occurs, giving the cookie a golden brown color. We can see that at 375 degrees, the cookie has a more browner caramelized color than a cookie that's been in a 325 degrees. This doesn't mean that the cookie is burnt. We also learn about water activity. The water activity, also known as the AW of a food, is the ratio between the vapor pressure of the food itself when in a completely undisturbed balance with the surrounding air media and the vapor pressure of distilled water under identical conditions. The higher the water activity, the shorter the shelf life. For example, beef jerky has a low water activity, so it's a perfect food for long periods of time, since it's basically dried up during the process of making the jerky. When baking, water activity is lost. We can see in the cookie at first the dough is very runny, but after we cook it, it's more crisp and solid. Preserved foods. Right, I'll be talking about beef jerky for this example. Jerky has been dried for a 23% moisture content with a water activity less than 0.88 W for it to be considered beef jerky. There are two main jerky types, restructured and a whole muscle. Restructured jerky is the main jerky sold at stores. It has gone through a grinding plates. Seasoning cured mix is the form into strips to be cooked and dry. Whole grain jerky is the meat that has been sliced between 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick strips and coated with seasoning and cured, and then the heat vacuum. Going back to water activity is very important during the making of beef jerky, since we want to prevent bacteria and contamination to happen while cooking. So we need to get all the water out before the drying process and the cooking process continues in order to kill all bacteria. And then we have sweeteners. We talked about this in our during our tea lecture. The main sweeteners are honey, table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and sugar alternatives like Splenda. Each sweetener has different consistencies due to the water activity. Honey is a more healthier option than a high fructose corn syrup. Usually when making tea, we usually grab table sugar since it's what we have. But for people that have high blood sugar, they usually do Splenda, which is the same taste as sugar, but it's just doesn't have the components of sugar, making it healthier for them. And yeah, that's the 5 things that I've learned. Thank you.